tuned into the greatest sports show on the planet. That's Prince, and he's Barty. And you're now listening to Prince and Barty. Buckle up.
Episode 109, episode 109, episode 109. Welcome back to the Prince and Barty podcast. We appreciate you no matter how you're listening. Thank you for rocking with us. What's going on, man?
We back at it again, man. So much to dive into. Big thing in sports. I'm excited because it's the time of year where it's a big melting pot of sports we can talk about.
100%, man. But let's get right into it, man. We lost a legend. The great George Foreman has left us. Man, George Foreman has so many great memories, brought smiles to so many people's life. One of the pound for pound greatest boxers, heavyweight specifically, to ever walk the earth. You know, we could go through his stats, gold medalist. You know, his first loss was to the great Muhammad Ali. He won a heavyweight title at the age 46. The oldest person to hold a heavyweight championship, man. You know, I know a lot of young college kids know George Foreman, not even for boxing, but they know him for that Foreman grill. You know, that's probably one of the biggest fumbles in the history of business with Hulk Hogan turning down the Foreman grill. You know, when you think about it, it would be crazy if Hulk Hogan had the Foreman grill. So I think history worked out and it's in the right way. But when you look at George Foreman, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, I think about two different spans of his career. Number one, you got George Foreman with the fro. He was a thug. He basically was that dude that you didn't want to mess with. Gave Joe Frazier the business, gave Ali a lot of beats to the ribs and to the dome, beat up on a lot of great fighters, probably the strongest right hand we've ever seen, even more than Mike Tyson. Then you got bald-headed George Foreman, the man who became the minister, the man who changed people's lives, the man who had a ministry in the church. This man had two different spans of his career, but he's probably one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen. He definitely gets his flowers. On March, we definitely buried a great man. He lost a great. He was probably one of the Mount Rushmore boxers of all time.
No, for sure. He was, man, he's so you think of Ali, obviously you think of Tyson. Lennox Lewis, one of my favorites, but when it comes to being an icon, I think it's Tyson, Ali, and George Foreman right at the top, where you know about his personal life, you know, all his sons is named George. You know so many personal facts about George Foreman. So rest in peace to George Foreman, the great George Foreman. I might light up something on a George Foreman grill tonight, man. I might knock the dust off it and light something up.
That's a fact.
For sure, man. Let's move along. So internet's going crazy. Internet's going crazy. 100K on the line. 100K on the line. We got Michael Beasley versus Born Ready Lance Stevenson. So they're rumored to be playing for 100K one-on-one. We always brag about Michael Beasley and his one-on-one prowess. There's rumors that he used to beat LeBron one-on-one in practice. We got to see the footage, but we know them boys from the DMV could score the ball, right? You know, he's a younger friend of Kevin Durant, you know, 6'8", 6'9", with a handle, silky jump shot. You know what Lance is, man. Brooklyn. Salute to Brooklyn with Lance. But I think I like Beasley in this, man, just because of the height and the skill. But talk to us about this matchup.
Michael Beasley, man, he's a born beast. When you look at what he's done, he's a one-on-one king in the game. Of course, like you said before, the rumors of him beating him in a one-on-one, LeBron. I just don't think Lance could even beat Danny Granger in a one-on-one. So, you know, you look at that situation, and it's not a knock on Lance Stevenson. I mean, we remember what he did on the Lakers. You know, he was a great player for the Lakers, great player for the Indiana Pacers. But I just think this is something along the lines that looks good for sports, but it's not good. And so I don't think that either team or either player, when you match them up, really matches up perfect with each other. When you look at what Michael Beasley has done in basketball from college to now, he's a one-on-one king. So, I mean, if I was making side bets, I'll put 20K on Michael Beasley to beat Lentz. That's just me.
Now, do you think this is going to form like a new trend where, it's a lot of NBA players that are still in great shape. You got Joe Johnson. He out here doing the yoga. It's funny, a lot of guys find better shape than when they was actually playing. Brandon Jennings still talking trash on Gil's Arena, saying he better than Drew Holiday and he better than all these guys. But do you think that's kind of a thing? I know we got the big three, but what do you think about these one-on-one tournaments, man, with ex-NBA players? Could that be a business model that Prince and Barty should take over?
Definitely. I mean, when you think about it, there's so many one-on-one players. Look what Ice Cube did with the 3-on-3 league. We hear stories that Kobe said he would have bust Michael Jordan's butt. We heard stories that people said they can play one-on-one, that Tracy McGrady can go neck and neck with Kobe Bryant. So when we think about it, this would end a lot of sidebar conversations in the barbershop. These guys going one-on-one, greats going up against each other. Like I would take the old greats and let them play. Like I'll take even Mike right now and maybe let him do a one-on-one versus one of the old one-on-one players. I would take Vince Carter, maybe go up against T-Mac at this age. We could get so many people to come back and play and do one-on-one tournaments that it just would be crazy. And it would be good for the game of basketball because, ratings are down. It went up a little bit, but ratings are still down. Just to see players playing, of course, we know that Steph Curry's not a one-on-one player, but people like Westbrook might be good with a one-on-one game. There's so many people, Kevin Durant, Booker. I mean, this is something that they should do for the All-Star game as well. It would be a great highlight if they did it during the All-Star weekend, that instead of doing a three-point, remove the dunk contest. We've seen all the dunks we want. Three-point contest is still nice. I wouldn't even have the game. I would make Sunday night we'll take the best All-Stars and do a 1v1 tournament and see who's the best player in the league.
Nah, the All-Star game needs to do something to. And Kyrie was talking about that. Kyrie was saying he'll take on all comers, man. People like Kyrie. But let's go to the NFL.
It's the Barty Report.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Where A-Slim Barty, a.k.a. Barty, brings you the latest news, rumors, and updates of the NFL.
The only man in the 30 for 30 club has been signed to the New York Football Giants. What is the 30 for 30 club? That's 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. My dog, famous Jameis. So the Giants have signed Jameis Winston to a deal. Now, you're very high on my Giants. You always speak about our defense. We love Malik Neighbors. What can Jameis bring to the Giants? We remember the press conference where he was talking to Saquon, and Saquon was like, bro, they need you. And it came to fruition. I think Saquon kind of made that happen. So what does Jameis bring to the New York Football Giants?
Well, the Giants are still going to take a quarterback in the draft. We know that because they need a future. But he can be that man in the ear of the young quarterback that needs to be. He can also be the one that will take the reins before Cam Ward or whoever comes in and beats the quarterback. So what we need to figure out first is who's the head coach, what kind of system we're in. Is it going to be a pass-first offense? And if so, that means Slayton and Malik Neighbors will have great numbers this year. But what I will say is this. The NFC East cornerback's going to be getting a whole lot of picks because my man he loves to throw the ball to defenders.
But he said he got the LASIK fixed, though. He said he got his eyes fixed. I don't know.
Even if he got it fixed, man, let me tell you something. He's the only dude to do 30 and 30. And so since he's the only dude 30 and 30, I still say he'll give you about maybe 10 to 15 picks this year. Easily 10. I won't say 15, but easily 10. But he will boost the offense. The offense will be good to look at, depending on what they do in the draft, because they need to fortify that offensive line. They need to fortify the running game. If he has a decent running game with, like, one of his biggest problems in Cleveland was that his running backs were hurt. If his running game was going well, then he would have been a different quarterback in that system. Not saying that they would have been a great team, but he wouldn't have thrown as many interceptions.
No, I agree. I think if nothing else, the press conferences are going to be must-see TV. Jameis is a comedian, and I really can't wait for Jameis to retire and get on the desk because
Mm.
he is funny without even trying. Great locker room guy, but all jokes aside, I think people really they enjoy Jameis's energy, his spirit. Love him or hate him. You could tell he's a great guy, and the teammates really rally behind him. So, hey, what else do we got to lose, man? We don't got nothing to lose. Like you said, we're gonna draft a quarterback, hopefully Shador. And I know if Jameis starts by week 5, they're gonna be screaming for Shador to come in. So let's see if we get some Jameis magic. But let's move on, man. Your boy Brandon Cooks is signing a 2-year deal for $13 million with the Saints. Does that move the needle? Free agency is kind of slow now, man. So we down to these kind of guys, man. What does Brandon Cooks do at this point in his career? I think a lot of people would say he didn't live up to expectations, but we thought he was going to be in the league. But what does this do for the Saints and Brandon Cooks?
It stretches the field for the New Orleans Saints. But who is the quarterback? That's the question. Is Carr going to be healthy, or are they going to be moving in the future? So it stretches the field for them, but he hasn't been the same since he was on the Rams. His best, I would say, one of his best seasons is when he played on the Pats. I mean, looking at what he did in Dallas, he still was a decent possession receiver. But I mean, I just think now he's just getting a check. New Orleans need a receiver to pair with what they have because their receiving core is depleted. It's not the same New Orleans that we knew way back when they were going to the Super Bowl with Drew Brees and those boys at receiver, Michael Thomas, Jimmy Graham, the receiving core that they had. It's not the same. So for them to add Brandon Cooks, I mean, it moves the needle for that weak division as far as to see what they can do, but defensively, they need to fortify their defense.
No, I agree, man. It's always a mystery. I know Derek Carr, they asked him to restructure his contract. I think he said, hell no. Derek Carr trying to keep all his bread. It was like,
And I would say the same thing too, because you don't know what's going to happen in New Orleans. You
right.
don't know.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. But what we know now is the Vikings said no on Aaron Rodgers.
Mhm.
The Jets told them no. So now we're down to the Steelers. So we know Russ doesn't have a home. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a home. Justin Fields has a home with the Jets. So here we go again, man. Aaron Rodgers drama. He only's down to one team. I feel like it's either the Steelers or retirement, or hoping maybe a starter gets hurt and you bring Aaron Rodgers in to save the day. He becomes a hired gun like a Joe Flacco of some sorts. But what's up with Aaron Rodgers? What's up with Russell Wilson? I feel like we talk about this every show. What are they gonna do?
Aaron Rodgers, man, I say this one thing. Green Bay knows when their quarterbacks have hit a wall. They knew it. They knew it with Brett Favre, and they knew it with Aaron Rodgers. And so they and then they also have a great farming quarterbacks because of course the quarterbacks that they had. You see what they're doing now with Jordan Love. So when you look at the situation of it, Aaron Rodgers, look, he needs to be a TV commentator. Like I said before, the Steelers, I don't see a situation where him and Tomlin can get along. I think Russell can get along with Tomlin because Russell's a company guy. Aaron Rodgers has never been a company guy.
That's right.
Aaron Rodgers goes against the apple card. He has a Will Ferrell mentality towards everything where he's going to do his thing. They used to always say Will Ferrell would we always go off of scripted movies. And that's what Aaron Rodgers does. He goes off scripts with the quarterback coach. He goes off script with the quarterback, with the head coach. He goes off script with the team. He tells the team who he wants to bring in. He thinks he's the LeBron James of football. And the only person who's the LeBron James of football right now is Patrick Mahomes, even though Jalen Hurts did win the Super Bowl. But Patty's the only one who can tell a team what they need to do. And that's just the truth. He's not a predominantly winner anymore. Yes, he has great years, but we watched Brady towards the end of the career. We watched Peyton Manning towards the end of his career. We're watching the end of the movie of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with Aaron Rodgers. It's time for him to hang the cleats up, leave the game alone, stop bothering people. And as far as it goes for Russell Wilson, I think Russell will get a contract. I think they're just in negotiation. Well, the negotiation's not going well. Russell wants more money, and he thinks he deserves more money, but he's at a point now where they just need to be, and I know not, but live off of Sierra's residuals, what she's making from music, and go from there. He's not going to get a big check, man. The NFL does not pay older quarterbacks money unless your name is Tom Brady or Peyton Manning.
No,
Just don't do it.
that's a fact. But you know what's interesting? Before the Vikings said no on Aaron Rodgers, he would have literally followed Brett Favre's path.
True.
Jets and the Vikings. What's the odds of two iconic Packers quarterbacks playing for the same team? So that was interesting that the Vikings shut it down because they've taken the Packers leftovers and the Jets leftovers before.
Mm-hmm. They have, and when you look at it, it just shows the scramble that's going on in them divisions. They didn't pay the quarterback they're supposed to pay him the money, and he went over to the Seattle Seahawks. You see what he's doing over there. Should be interesting because, of course, Cooper Kupp went there as well. I mean, I think that's the biggest story in free agency. I can't believe that the Rams moved on from Mr. Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp in the same division to the Seahawks. You understand now that the Rams have to see him twice a year, and don't be surprised if he cooks those DBs because he's still, in my opinion, a top 7 route runner in the league. And they didn't give him.
I agree. He's going to feel disrespect, and hopefully we get another Triple Crown type season. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. You know, once you're a great route runner, you know, Chris Carter's, the people like that, you could play for a long time in this league. So I can't wait to watch a Cooper Kupp revenge tour. But let's talk about Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. They still playing with his name, playing in his face. You know, I think negotiations started at $45 million. He wanted more. You know the list. We don't got to go through the list of overpaid quarterbacks from Kyler Murray to Tua. There's a bunch of them. We also know the 49ers are in the rebuild mode. So what do they do with Brock Purdy? You know, Brandon Ayuk is hurt. Debo's no longer there. You still got Kittle, but it's looking like a rebuild to me. They're not using the word rebuild, but it's looking like that. So what's going on in San Fran?
The minute that Ayuk did that holdout, it changed the whole team. The receiving core changed. The defense changed. They gave him his money, and once they gave him his money, he got hurt. And then from there, it's just been issues. I don't think Brock Purdy is the problem. I think whoever's running the organization is a problem because the last big signing that they did was on the defense, which was good, and they've done good on defense in the draft. But offensively, they've made a lot of mistakes. The only big thing that they did was CMC. But as we seen, Carolina knew something about CMC. They knew that he tends to get hurt. After a couple of carries, after a couple of seasons, he's injury prone. And it's showing that now that they're building their team around a running back. But even when you look at the Eagles built their team around a running back, but they still had the receiving core, still had a rushing quarterback. Brock Purdy, I don't think necessarily is the problem. He is Mr. Irrelevant, but he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the game. So they should pay him his money, but they need to figure out what they're going to do to fortify that offense because Brandon Ayuk, without Debo, he's a number 3 receiver. He's another Gabe Davis. That's what I think of. He's Gabe Davis. Watch what Gabe Davis did when he went to Jacksonville, and he was the number 1. He was terrible. Now you look at Ayuk being the number 1. Of course, you still have the powerhouse at tight end, but double team the tight end like you do Kansas City, and let's see if Ayuk can beat us in one-on-ones. I mean, Ayuk was going up against the number 2 and the number 3 corner in the league, and so that's why he looks so good. But now, Ayuk, you got to go up against the Patrick Surtains, the Cooper DeJeans, the great corners in the league. It's going to be a problem for him. And it should be interesting to see what happens there with Brock Purdy. San Francisco's not going to pay him because San Francisco, it took them time to respect Joe Montana. It took them time to respect Steve Young. That's a great organization. when it comes to football in California, Santa Clara, the 49ers, we're talking about history here. They're one of the teams that have the most Super Bowls in the league. So their mindset is if the quarterback doesn't match Joe or Steve, quarterback is a dime a dozen.
I agree. I think with the Brock Purdy situation, I hate the fact that they kind of playing in his face because he was Mr. Irrelevant, and it's almost like it's like the Joe Pesci. I don't shine shoes no more, right? You know what I mean? You got to pay me. Joe Pesci, when he was in Goodfellas, he's at the table now. You know what I'm saying? He's a wise guy, so you can't treat him like he's shining shoes anymore. And I feel like that's what Brock Purdy is now. So I don't care what I was. I think because Brock Purdy's such a nice guy, he's mild-mannered, he's a man of just integrity that you could play in his face. You only respect guys who come in there and now Brock Purdy comes over there and says, "Hey, I'm not coming to OTAs. I'm not coming to training camp." I bet you he get his money.
100%.
Because Kyle Shanahan is not marching out no unproven quarterback out there. Now, you know that. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, now you could say he's a kingmaker. He did it with Garoppolo. He didn't do it with Trey Lance. So that's on his record. You traded heaven and earth to get Trey Lance, and he was a dud. Trey Lance will never get a starting job again, probably.
Well, I mean, the only way he's going to start is, and you saw what happened in Dallas. He was a third string behind. So I think that he has a problem reading the playbook. And that's the issue. There are certain type of quarterbacks that they have the gift, but they have a problem reading the playbook. And that's the issue with Trey Lance. But I mean, it's gonna be interesting moving forward because we get to really see who's doing what and who's who. So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, man, we're about under a month away from the draft. Do you think any team is gonna make any moves on draft day that hasn't made moves already? What teams are you looking at?
I think you guys are gonna pick up a quarterback. I think teams that probably will make a big move or a splash. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to make a splash because they need to fortify their defense. You saw some weaknesses on their defense this year. They need some defensive linemen, and there's a name out there that everybody keeps forgetting. You can trade draft picks or draft persona for Trey Hendrickson, who was the #1 sacker last year. It will be a good play for someone to get him. Do what the Eagles did years ago when they got A.J. Brown. Trade some of your top picks. Do a sign and trade with Cincinnati. Give Cincinnati what they need and let Trey Hendrickson go out and ball on your defense. Like one team that would be very wise to get Trey Hendrickson would be the Dallas Cowboys. They would pair him up with Micah Parsons. We'll see something that we've never seen on the defensive side. It would be something like Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, Pittsburgh.
No, for sure. Let's go to the horror.
Holding court with Prince. Our resident NBA guru, Prince, dives into all things basketball.
Fades into a three. Got it! Curry!
Well, Lakers got beat like a drum by the Bulls by 30 plus points. Not too worried. A lot of people didn't play. LeBron is back, so that's a great sign. But looking into the playoffs, right? We always talk about the Lakers just got to get in, and styles makes fights, as you like to say. I'm looking at the Lakers. I'm not afraid of anybody now. I think Luka's our cheat code. You look at the teams that beat us before, whether it's Denver, we beat them easy. You know what I mean? The Phoenix Suns beat them easy. The Clippers, who used to dominate us, we beat them easy. So Luka has the kryptonite over all those teams. So having him, Braun able to rest. When you look at the Western Conference, what other teams are you looking at outside of the Lakers that might be a dark horse that we're not respecting?
Houston has a lot of pieces. It's just the problem with the Houston Rockets is that the Rockets are not, there's no vets. I think Sanguine is a big-time big man. He doesn't get the love he deserves. The young pieces around Sanguine, I see even my man balling now from Memphis. He's looking good. Dylan Brooks. I mean, you look at certain people; they're playing well, and you got to give them love. The coaching job that's being done over there. They're a team to be reckoned with. The only issue is when you get to the conference finals, like last year with OKC, sweaty palms, lose the ball. So I think that they can make a deep push in the playoffs, but I don't think that they can win the championship because once you go up against the likes of a Luka, a SGA, um, a Jokic, you have nobody really who's a closer for your squad. Sengun is not a closer. I'm sorry, he's a great big, but he's not a closer. So what are you going to do? Run the offense to Sengun? I don't know, but I think that they're a great dark horse in the West. The other teams is too many question marks. Steph got hurt with Golden State. The Clippers, it's always question marks with Kawhi. Everybody has a question mark on their squad. But when you think of Houston, OKC, Denver Nuggets, and the Los Angeles Lakers, they all have a closer or they all have a generational talent of player.
I agree. Speaking of sweaty palms, I'm looking at, I don't know. When it comes to personnel, Cleveland looks amazing. Mobley, Jared Allen, the bench looks good. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell, Garland, they have everything they would need, but I don't trust them. They're still a team where when the rotations get shorter, the half court offense has to be implemented. Atkinson's a great coach. Um, I don't think the coaching will be an issue. I think it's a personnel issue because now you're going to run into matchup problems. You're going to put Jared Allen in pick and rolls where you're playing Boston, they might put Tatum at center.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could do little things to put you in a trick bag. So it's going to be interesting to see. But let's switch gears to the Miami Heat. Tonight they actually won. As we're recording this, Wiggins had 42 points, so they snapped a 10-game winning streak. And a couple of days ago, they talked to Jimmy Butler about his time in the Heat, and he was just like, "Hey, I had a good time there. We didn't win anything. We didn't accomplish our goal. We had a couple of good runs." When I look at the Heat, I heard a great point. So obviously we know Brad Stevenson was coaching the Celtics, but he left that post to go become a GM, and he's probably already one of the best GMs in the league now. As I'm looking at the Heat, I heard talks of Eric Spoelstra leaving his post and ultimately replacing Pat Riley and becoming the president and GM of basketball operations. Now, obviously, we know Spoelstra is a great coach. I got him and Ty Lue as my favorite coaches in the league. JJ's up there. Those are my top three. Obviously, you got Mike Malone. You got great coaches, but I've always been a Spo guy. I think he sees the game in a unique way, but I think the USA basketball job is his if he wants it. I think they're tired of Steve Kerr. What do you think about longtime assistant Chris Quinn taking over and Spoelstra going up to the office, man, and really recruiting people from that standpoint and getting Pat gracefully out of there? What do you think that would do for the Heat?
Pat has a narcissistic mindset, and Eric Spoelstra doesn't. But I just don't know how he's going to draw great players to the Miami. You watch the tenure of LeBron, how he left, the tenure of Shaq, even the tenure of Wade. I mean, there's always love for Wade, but there still was some rocky roads towards the end. If Mickey has to have a player-friendly GM, and now mind you, Spo is under the family tree of Pat Riley. So when you're under the family tree of Pat, you see what's happening and you understand, they're very tough. They manage how you eat, they manage what you do. They steal LeBron James cookies. I mean, that's just what they do. They do some funny stuff. And so when you look at what they do, it's not necessarily a team friendly team. And so I think Spo would make a good GM, but I don't think he's going to draw someone there. I think the Heat is in trouble because their team is built around an undersized big man. And we saw what happened in the 90s. I mean, the last undersized big man to take a team to the finals was Charles Barkley, and Bam is nowhere near Charles Barkley.
No, I agree, man. Let's talk about March Madness real quick. A lot of great games over the weekend. Sweet 16 is set for this week. But a couple of shocking things, man. UConn fell over the weekend. So Bobby Hurley, I'm sorry, Dan Hurley, the wrong Hurley. Dan Hurley won't get a three-peat. Gators about to be in their first Sweet 16 since 2017. So I believe at the time of recording, there's only 3 perfect brackets left as far as ESPN is concerned. What do you think about kind of what March Madness has been so far? And what do you think Cooper Flag has proven so far?
Duke was going to be good whether they had Cooper or not. They're just a successful franchise, a successful program. Cooper is a fan draw to the tournament, so it's good that he played because people probably wouldn't have watched. I was at the basketball court today, and I saw some things, and people was like, I asked them about the NCAA tournament. It was like they really could care less. And so with the Duke franchise, we knew what we were going to see because they're just predominantly a good run or machine. Houston, I'm excited for. To see UConn not make a Sweet 16 is shocking. But we expected some Cinderella story somewhere. So this will probably be whoever knocked them out, their Cinderella story, because they won their game, and more than likely they'll have a Bear story where they may make it to the Final Four and lose in the Final Four. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens as far as the NCAA tournament goes. I'm still rolling with Houston. I love Houston. And Duke. I love Houston and Duke. Should be interesting NCAA tournament.
For sure. Let us know your brackets. Next time, by the time we record again, we'll be talking about the Elite Eight. But let's talk about some big money, big money, big money. Boston Celtics, man. Boston Celtics under new ownership. He bought it for $1 million. Now they worth $6 billion. That's $1 billion, man. Talk to us about just that historic franchise. It's crazy. I think, we're both businessmen, right? Where you talk about stocks, you talk about real estate. I don't think there's a more accelerated wealth builder like owning a sports franchise, right? Especially if you win a championship, get to the playoffs. The Boston Celtics are going to have a packed stadium, whether they're good or not. It's like you in LA, you got to check a Dodgers game. You in New York, you got to check a Yankees game or a Mets game. It's just a staple of business, and it's connected to the city tourism. So talk to us about the Celtics and selling for a historic amount like that.
The crazy thing with the Celtics, when you think about it, we didn't see Steinbrenner sell the Yankees when they were winning all the championships. So I wonder why he sold it, because we're looking at NBA royalty, but $6 billion is $6 billion. Who am I to even complain about getting $6 billion in my pocket? I would have probably waited to sell them because they'll probably be worth about $10 billion after if they win the championship this year. If Boston goes back to the finals and they play our Lakers or they play OKC and they win again, the property value of the team is going to go up very much so. But it was a good sell. Shout out to the new owner. I want to see what kind of ideas he's going to bring, because when you look at Boston, it's a traditional roster. It's a traditional team. This team is a tradition, just like the Lakers. They're the blue-collar team of the East, and Hollywood shows in the West. Magic, Showtime, Kobe and Shaq's Lakers, to LeBron and AD's Lakers, to now Luka and LeBron's Lakers. I mean, you look at it, the Lakers are a franchise that you would never see the Bucks sell their team. But you watch the owner sell his team. So I don't know what was going on, why he sold it. Maybe he needs to retire, or he's trying to leave money to his family. But $6 billion is $6 billion, is what it is.
So he bought the Grossbeck family. They bought it in 2002 for $360 million and sold it for $6.1 billion. You talk about a flip. That's a somersault, backflip, double back handspring, whatever because that is it's insane, man. You see like Magic Johnson and a lot of these ownership groups, obviously with the Dodgers, with the Commanders. Magic's been getting money a long time, but Magic, he's a minority owner. These are like majority owners, so they're getting all that profit. Salute to the new ownership, man. You got 6.1 to spend. So think about that. Think about your group, your investment group. You got 6.1 billion to fork over for that franchise.
Mm.
Now, they win the championship again. That's going to automatically probably put them back up to 8 or 10.
Exactly.
So,
And that's the thing that's crazy is that, I mean, the flip is the flip, but when we're talking about the royalty of the National Basketball Association, I mean, basketball is an international sport. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go later down the line with them. But if they do win the championship, that owner may be beating himself in the head that he left $4 billion on the table.
oh my God. Let me ask you, if you could own a sports franchise, what sport would it be? Would you be a basketball owner, baseball, or football?
I would do football because there's not a lot of Negroes that sit at the table that own a team.
Okay.
Imagine the space that I walk in there and I got on a Prince and Barty hat and a suit and I'm laughing.
Gotta have that
Wow.
custom Prince and Barty for sure.
You already know. I'm walking in there and I own, let's just say I own the Houston Texans. I'll be making all kind of decisions. And listen, I'll make sure that all my players are taken care of.
100%, man. So I got a confession, man. I told you this off air, but hey, damn it, we're gonna let our listeners know. So before the Lakers play, man, I play NBA 2K, and that's how I determine my picks if I'm playing on Hard Rock bets or whatever. Now, this week I didn't play I'm like, oh, we got the Bulls. Oh, we gonna win that. And the one time I do not play on 2K and dominate with the Lakers, we lose by 31. So going forward, I'm about to get on 2K. I'm not gonna miss a 2K game with the Lakers, man. I don't know if you do it with Madden. I know you're a big Madden guy, but I'm very superstitious with I go to today's games and I'll play one or two of them games, and that's how I kind of pick my winners. I think I end up using the Bucks. I played with the Bucks over the weekend, and Giannis had a big game, and the Bucks won.
Mm.
Almost identical to the numbers I had in 2K. I'm telling you, it's a thing, man.
We're saying that you got a crystal ball when you play Madden. I mean, you play 2K.
Hey, I'm saying, man, hey, holla at your boy, man. I'll put some on the books for you.
Definitely.
But man, this been episode 109. What you getting into this week?
I ain't got nothing going on, man. Just out here, man, trying to get it going, get a few things happening, man. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen in baseball. I know you got the chance to check out spring training, so I know that was exciting.
Open the
I want
gate
to see
soon.
the Marlins. I want to see what the Marlins do. That's what I'm excited for. What their pitching is going to be like, because Marlins haven't really had problems with their hitting, but their pitching has always been a problem.
Pitching's key, man. We'll definitely be at some games this season, and so many games to check out. We'll talk about we got the Warriors and Heat game that we might be attending too. Jimmy's revenge game. Look out for that. But we got a lot of stuff coming up. Obviously, we're watching the draft. Should be at some spring training stuff. So just keep commenting, and subscribing to everything we got going on. We got Prince and Barty merch dropping soon. Some more custom hats. Shout out to Three Kings Chris, our printer. Always love. He keep us swagged out, man. So be on the lookout. Some charity events. It don't stop.
I'm excited about that. That's gonna be cool.
For sure. We always give back. But it's the episode, man. Episode 109. Salute to all our listeners, old listeners, new listeners. Rock with us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Prince and Barty.
Prince and Barty is your #1 source for all things sports. Now streaming on Spotify and iTunes. Prince and Barty will be doing live broadcast at several locations around the country. Follow and like all Prince and Barty's social media pages for exclusive details. There will be game tournaments, sport trivia, best fan contest, and cash giveaways all night. This can be your chance to win big.